Hi, my name is Terry and I'm here to show you the October Sew Fun. We are going to start with this pattern. It's called the Tabor V-neck and it's a sweater t-shirt pattern. So this is the sweater I made out of it. The pattern is excellent. It has size 00 to size 20 in it, so you could make it for anybody. You need to figure out which size you are, and it's pretty true to size. I made the size that I always am. I liked the pattern because she did a couple different things. She had you put some iron-on interfacing here at the V, and stay stitch it and clip at the V. Then when you put the band in, you laid it over each other and you stay stitched it. You put it down and you came 3 inches down to the point. You pivoted and went 3 inches up. And then you leave it hang there. The next thing you do is use iron-on interfacing here on the sleeve because it's a drop shoulder. And you want to make sure when you cut that out that when you pull at it, it doesn't stretch. So one way of mine stretched, the other way did not. So you want to put the size that does not stretch here. Then you sew the back on, and then you put the rest of the neck band in. It fits perfectly. I like it because there's no puckers here at the point. There's no puckers anywhere around. When you put the sleeves in, you just stitch them this way and then down here. On this, I liked it because it has this slit on the side. I used a serger to sew the whole thing. I don't have an overlock. So when I got to the hem, I used my double needle and just threaded it. When you're going to do that, you want to make sure you have a flat pressed hem. And when you put your pins in, put them in right where the edge of the hem is so you catch it as you're stitching along. It gives it a nice finish on the back. And this was just a really fun little top to make. It took about 2 hours. So then I went shopping and found this cute little fabric. I wasn't even looking for it, but I thought this would make the other style of the t-shirt, which has just a curved bottom on it and a narrower neck band. So when I finished, I serged this all as well. You put it together the exact same way as you did this one. And when I finished this, I just used the triple stretch stitch on the hem for the sleeve and the bottom of the shirt. So these were very easy. This one I sewed in an hour and a half because I had done the other one already. The next thing I want to show you is this Traverse bag. I'm going to be traveling at Christmas to see my son who's moved to Columbia, and I wanted something that I could put my belongings in and feel safe and secure. So this is the small bag, and it is very easily finished up. It has a pocket on the back where you could put your passport, so when you're carrying it, it's a cross shoulder bag. The strap is adjustable. It has a zipper in the top here and a pocket inside. It has a pocket on the front with a snap for you to put your phone or whatever in. And then it's got this little piping. What I liked best about the piping was when I've made piping in the past, you fold your bias tape in half, you put your cording down there, and then you stitch next to the cording. Well, sometimes when you put the cording in here, you still see that first stitched cording spot. So the technique she has you do is you put a piece of Steam-A-Seam 2 tape on it, which I don't have a sample of, but we do have it in the stores, and it sticks to the one side. You put your cording in, you fold it over, and then you press it. Then when you're putting it in here, you don't have any stitches that you have to worry about covering up. So that was a very nice way to do it, and I don't think I'll ever stitch the binding in the piping in the first process. This is the larger bag, and it has a squared corner here, so it makes it a little bigger so you can hold a little more. It has the zipper in the back for your passport as well. The front pocket is bigger, so it's got 2 pockets in it, and it'll snap shut for you as well. And it has the zipper on the top with a pocket inside. So it's a crossbody, so that makes it where it's nice and secure. You can adjust it anywhere you want it because the handle slides. So that is the Traverse bag. Okay, I'm going to move some things around here so I can get to my next part, which is called the Cha-Cha-Cha table runner and placemats. This, I'm not sure why they called it the Cha-Cha-Cha, but they do have instructions here for a scrappy version or for a planned version. Well, mine's scrappy. I had a little quilting retreat with my sister. We went to Chatfield with my trailer for 2 days and sewed. And I knew I had a lot of the backing fabric, so I put it in a bag, and then I picked a bunch of scraps off the shelf, dumped them into a bag, and decided when I got there what I was going to make. So this is, you just cut 2.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles and put it together. I laid it out so I was sure I didn't have too many of the same thing touching because I didn't want it that way. One thing about the pattern is it gives you what you need for 2 placemats or what you need for 1 table runner. So that's kind of nice. If you don't want to make the placemats, you know exactly what you need for the table runner. If you want to make more than 2 placemats, you know exactly how much fabric to double it for. And that's called the Cha-Cha-Cha by Atkins Designs. The next one I want to talk about is Quilt in a Day pattern, table scrap. Also, it's a runner or a table topper, which is square. The nice thing about these is the topper as well as the runner has this nice big spot in the middle so you can showcase a piece of embroidery that you've done. I mean, a Halloween haunted house would be cute on this. You could put a bouquet of flowers on the top of it. I used my scraps from, I have 2.5 inch squares. I have like 2.5 shoe boxes full of them. So I just picked out kind of fall colors for this and put it together. When you do the stem, she has you cut that on the bias. You stitch along the raw edge, fold it over, and then top stitch down the fold. This was a quick and easy one. Quilt in a Day, of course, you get it done in a day. I stitched in the ditch on all of it, and then I used this Love Quilting and put that in the white areas on here. It had a nice triangle with hearts on it. The center has the hearts, and I just think it turned out really cute for being all scrappy. So this is Quilt in the Day table runner. The next project I did is the Kimberbell Mug Rugs. And it had a lot of cute little mug rugs in it. So I printed off her instructions. They're very thorough. Each one is set up the same way with a little piece and a larger piece of fabric. So she tells you the sizes to cut. The back is also different sizes, and they're just folded in half. It's completely made in the hoop. So when you do this, she gives you step-by-step generic instructions, and then when it comes to your pattern, she has step-by-step of if you're going to have to put applique or something on it. So the instructions were very thorough. The first one I did is love is a 4-legged word. It's perfect for your friend who likes animals. And when I stitched the back of it, I used that steam-a-seam 2 there and pressed it so it's nice and flat. This one says Treble Maker. And this one says, Friends and coffee make the perfect blend. This one here is for all of your sewing friends. When I did this one, I used OESD Luxe Vinyl, and I really liked it. It's nice and flexible. It's ironable. It's washable. It's perfect to put on here, and it gave it that little glittery shine. I did use the bamboo turner to turn my corners. I like these better than the plastic ones. The plastic ones have too pointed of a corner sometime, of a tip, and it pokes through your fabric. So the back doesn't have anything except fabric on it. So this kept it from poking through. So that's the Kimberbell Mug Rugs Volume 3. The next project I did was this little travel tote iron. I have taught this class at the Littleton store a couple times because it's really hard when you're at a class and you need to press and you look and there's like 3 people in front of you waiting for the ironing board because the stores have 1 ironing board and 1 iron. So this way, you bring your own. So the pattern comes with the heat-resistant fabric. Here, it's like ironing board fabric. It's heat-resistant. It makes a nice little mat. So in order to make this mat, you need a fat quarter of fabric. You need a 1/4 yard for your binding. The instructions have you start with this little square in the middle. They give you perfect measurements so you know where to draw your lines. You draw them with a pencil, then you stitch them up. So in order to make complete use of this, it's a little tiny ironing mat. We have these little irons you can get that comes with a little cup so you can fill them full of steam. These irons get nice and hot. They work really well. And if you're just working on blocks or something and you need to press, you've got it right by your sewing machine. I did order in the silicone mats so we can put them when you're done and you're packing up. You always forget to unplug this 10 minutes ahead of time. So this way, you can put it right in there, pack it up, and it's not going to burn or scorch anything. And these just go together so nicely, and they just keep everything in one little spot, and you've got it all together so you can press at your classes. So this is the travel iron tote. The next thing we had are some products that I didn't actually use to make anything. They're just some little bags. These are our mesh bags. I decided to show you how easy it was to embroider on them. So I ripped them open on the side where the zipper comes together here, and I ripped it all the way down to the square part. And then I hooped 2 layers of wash away, Floriani wash and gone, I think it is. And I took this and then pinned it along the edge of the frame away from the design. So this design I took off of my new sewing machine. I bought a, I can't remember what I bought. It's just an embroidery machine only. And so the R is for my granddaughter, Rosa. And I think she'll probably fill it full of a lot of makeup. She's a hairdresser. The next design also came off of there. And then we have a larger bag even. So these bags would be great to pack stuff in when you're taking a trip. I think they'd be great gifts to give to people. They'd also be great to put your UFOs in so you can store them and you can kind of see through them. So this fabric it's so easy. You don't have to put a topper on it to embroider or anything. The next project I did is the Bargello in the round. And it was very easy. The way they had you do it, the instructions have you take 2.5-inch strips, strip them together, sew them together, and then lay them horizontally out on a cutting mat, and you cut them into 3.5-inch vertical strips. Then you take and you use this 10-degree ruler, which we have at the stores for you to get, and you lay it out. So in order to see what you're cutting, you take it and you come down a straight row here, and this is what you're cutting out. And every time you're sewing this together, you drop your color down 1/2 of a color. So it gives it the appearance of a swirl when you're really just doing a straight line sewing. You put this circle together in 3 parts, and the center of it has a little wedge pattern that comes in the pattern as well, so you can cover this up. I did hand stitch this on. I didn't like the way it looked when I sewed it on with the machine, so it's been hand stitched on. And then when I quilted this, I simply did every other color and did it in the swirl, which gave it the nice flow that it has. So this is called Bargello Rewound. The next quilt I did was from a book called Charm Quilts. So everything in this book is made from your 5-inch squares, a charm pack, and we ordered in this cute little charm pack called Joyful that I used to make this. What I liked about this particular pattern is it looks as if you have sewn arcs or circles in it, and everything on here is just straight line stitched. So the thing that helps that is the rulers, this ruler right here. It is called the Trirex ruler, and when you're cutting your fabric for that, you're going to cut the colored fabric with the big triangle, the whole triangle. The white fabric is cut with the half triangle, and this is what you're making. So when you put it on here, you have a half square triangle. You're going to put the Trirex triangle here. You're going to turn it the other way here, and it gives you the appearance of an arc. So by making this simple straight line, it looks like you did all the curves. So when I quilted this one, I used my embroidery machine. I used the, I think it was called Seasonal Quilting from OESD. I only quilted in the white parts of the quilt. The rest of the quilt I stitched in the ditch. You can see it on the back. I stitched in the ditch first, then did all the quilting. When I finished with the embroidery, I did go back to the colors and put either a square or a triangle in it. And this is called the Town Village Circle. Also out of this time-saving charm quilt book, I did the Crisscross Throw here. I used the metal edge charm packs, which we have available for you to order at the store. It was a very easy quilt to put together. You took a charm square, you cut it in half diagonally, and then you sewed on each side of it an 1.5-inch strip. So it goes together like this, and you just you lay it down like that, and then you sew that row completely across. So here's your square right here. When I quilted this one, I used a pattern off of the sewing machine. It's just a circular pattern. So I first stitched in the ditch along all the trellis work, and then it gave it a nice little square here in the center by going on each side of them. Then I put the round design in there, and here on the edge I even used the same design. I just squished it so it was longer and narrower, and I love the way it looks. The back of it even looks as good as the front, the quilting in it. This one here, when I did it, I hooped it, and of course each time I would center it on where the squares came together here, so it was very easy to align it up once I got the right size. You just hooped it, found your center, and did it. So this is the Crisscross Throw. The next book I want to talk about is Quilters 10-inch Square Pre-Cut Companion. This book was put out by Jenny Doan, and it's an excellent source for resources in your quilt room. The front of the book here tells you how many half square triangles you can get depending on how you cut them up out of 10-inch squares. It tells you sizes of quilts to make for a certain size mattress. It gives you, if you have a fat quarter, you can get 2 10-inch layer cake squares out of it, 4 5-inch charm squares out of it, and a strip that's 2.5 by 22 inches long. So it gives a lot of information in the book, and I had a fun time with this book. You order your layer cake, so doing pre-cuts makes it faster to quilt because you don't have the cutting time that you have to spend. On this quilt, we ordered in the Saguaro 10-inch layer cake, and then I used a plain background that I cut into 10-inch layers. So the way you made this particular quilt was you started with 2 colored squares, and you stitched around the outside edge 1/4 inch all the way around it. Then you sliced it from corner to corner, and you end up with 4 half square triangles. Then you're going to work with your background fabric, and you're going to cut out of each layer cake. You cut 2 of these wedges with her template that we have available at the stores. You just cut them out. Then you fold the wedge in half and press it. The next thing you do is on the pressed line, you're going to stitch it to your half square triangle. And then you'll trim it, and you'll trim the bottom. And when you do that, every single one that looks this color, you're going to stitch it exactly the same way. And when you put this together, you just turn them to make your star in the center. So this went together very quickly. They're big squares, as you can see. When I quilted this, I stitched in the ditch around each star to start with. Then I needed a piece of embroidery, so I hooped it, and I couldn't decide what to use, so I got into my Floriani software, found this shape. I don't know what it's called, but I made it small, and then I would increase it and increase it so it fit in here. I cut it in half so I could do the edges here in my software as well, and I did all the quilting on it. And then when I was finished, I decided in the center of the star it needed to have this little diamond shape to hold the star in there together. And then I went ahead and stitched in the ditch around here, and I put my binding on. Well, then I decided I needed something here, so I had made a star like that, but when I went to hoop it, because it was already done and I didn't have my extra binding, it wouldn't fit. So I just ended up sewing straight here. It turned out really well. I used grunge fabric from one of the stores, and I just really liked the way this turned out, and it was a pretty quick one to do. The next quilt I did is also out of this book, and it is called Flying Geese Diamonds. Mallory ordered in this nice charm pack of fabric that's called Sweater Weather, and I cut these into the 10-inch squares in order to do it. When you make this block here, you take a background color and a colored piece of fabric that's a 10-inch square, and you stack them on top of each other, and then you're going to cut them in half so you end up with strips that are 5 inches by 10 inches. Then on one side you're going to cut them into charm squares, so you'll have 2 colored charm squares and 2 white charm squares, and you'll have the 2 long strips. So when you're putting this together, you take a long strip and you fold it in half and lay it on your charm square. You sew down the side, leaving it a 1/4 inch from the top. When you open it up, you just open up that, and there's your flying geese. So the next step you're going to do with that flying geese is you're going to fold the edges in, leaving a 1/4 inch here for your seam, and you're going to top stitch along the edge. So the actual square you are making is this one right here, and everything is tacked down nice and smooth, and I just love the way it turned out. So when I went to quilt this, I figured this was the center part, and I did this one here. It's OESD Fall Floral Quilting, and I just used the sunflower on it. It's got several designs in here. There's 30 of them. And I did all the white first, and then I did all the color. And when I was done with that, I looked here, and this needed something. So I got back into my Floriani software, and they had the exact shape I needed. So again, I just turned the shape into stitches, and I made it smaller each time and did that there. I really, really liked quilting with my embroidery machine. I like the way it looks on both sides. It was fun to do. It doesn't take long. I mean, each design took like 2 minutes to stitch out because I did the single stitching. And it just shows you that you can use your embroidery machine to finish up your quilts and make them nice. Thank you for coming today and seeing this, and I hope you enjoyed it.